my topic again was, what was my topic, Xavier? How to stretch your mind with neuroplasticity?
Yeah, that's pretty much what we're talking about today is neuroplasticity. It's kind of you're the closing act for our wellness week, and so if you could just share with us some of your knowledge on neuroplasticity and how wellness ties into that, and of course how we as chiropractors can help to facilitate that for our patients, and in doing so, kind of be able to also explain the wonderfulness of our body and how it's constantly able to adapt, constantly able to grow and be better for the next day ahead.
Yeah, cool. Excited. I'm going to take this maybe not in the direction that some people are thinking, and we're not going to be research heavy today. This is Wellness Week, right? So instead, I'm going to talk a little bit about neuroplasticity and employing a self-directed approach to changing your mind. We'll call it a recipe for changing your mind that does not require psychedelics, even though that's a novel approach as well. But today, what I want to talk about is how you as a human being, but also possibly as a practitioner, can help other people to change the narrative in their mind, right? Like at all times, there is a constant running narrative, and it's like a movie playing in your head, right? It's got HD surround sound. It's got body feelings, hunger, pain, orgasm. It's got emotions. It's got plans. It's got dreams. You can summon up a memory from the past in an instant, right? But this constant running narrative in your mind really controls everything, doesn't it? Like it will control your whole life. And if it's not a good narrative, what happens? Like right now, in this very stressful time, that narrative can kind of take a dive, right? And so, our life is like this, right? There's this constant shifting from highs and lows, from states of positivity to states of negativity. And that is completely normal, 100% normal. And human beings were designed to survive. And so we have something, and you've probably have heard of this before, that's called a negativity bias in our mind, right? Has anybody heard about that, right? Where literally your brains are like Teflon for positivity and Velcro for negativity. And there's a reason why that's the case. And so that we can, spot the snake in the grass or the tiger that's chasing us. And so how do we then take that hardwired design and rewire our brains? I just want to take a step back for a second and just say, this is how we'll roll today. I will talk for a little bit. I want to take you through a little experience and then I'll take questions. Sound good? Awesome. Yeah, that's it. This is pretty casual. So here we have this constant running stream of consciousness that is our mind, that is this narrative that controls how we experience our life, right? And that's normal. That's something that makes us uniquely conscious. As human beings, we're meant to be the only species that has self-awareness. Now, is that true? I don't know. I haven't talked to my cats today, but it seems to me like they're pretty in tune with being alive. In any case, what we know is that human beings have a conscious experience that is called our stream of consciousness, and we attribute that to the mind. Now, without getting into a whole conversation about theories of where consciousness is, whether it is in the brain or the brain is merely a conduit and consciousness is in the field, today what I want to talk to you about is how you can change that narrative in your head. And basically, you can do that by biohacking the brain and literally reprogramming or rewiring it. So Donald Hebb, who's this awesome Canadian, back in 1949, I think it was, he came up with this concept of neuroplasticity. That's how old the idea of neuroplasticity is. And yes, it came from a Canadian. And he says that neurons that fire together wire together. And I know that you all have heard that statement before, but maybe you don't really grasp what that means. And that is that you can program your brain to behave in a manner that you want, that you can literally direct your neuroplasticity yourself. Yes, we can create changes in the brain with the adjustment. And today I want to give you the recipe to create changes, neuroplastic changes in a positive way so that you are really directing your life more towards wellness. Okay. So how do we do that? Basically, there's 5 components. Everyone gets their pens out. And the 5 parts are, number 1, intention. And so basically, how do you establish focus? And there are 2 different ways to do that. Number 1 is a top-down approach. And that is sort of like you think with your mind, I'm going to control my mind. And who finds that easy? Anybody? Right? Like, is the top-down approach working? I've been meditating for about 30 years. And yeah, it's not perfect. And some days are great and other days are shit. So, there's this idea that if you change your mind, you can change your state. I mean, actually, what I've learned from research and from personal experience is that if you can control or change your physiology first, it's much easier to change your mind. So then how do we change physiology? We focus our attention, right? Energy flows where attention goes. And so if you want to create a change in your mind, the first thing to do is to create a change in your physiology. And so number 1, we focus intention on a desired state. Dispenza talks about this all the time, right? If there's something, a desirable state you want to have in the future, what you do is you focus your intention. This is not different. This is different than just thinking with your mind. You need to feel the experience, the desired state in your body. Is it gratitude? Is it joy? Is it bliss? Is it triumph? I don't care. You get to choose your state, right? And so what you need to do is you need to feel that in your body as though it already exists. So step 1 in the recipe for changing your mind is intention. Step 2.
Hey, Dr. Mo, can I ask you a question about that?
Sure.
I hear that concept a lot of more than just like thinking of your intention of where you want to go, but actually feeling the experience. What allows that to be more so impactful, or why is that such a critical thing that I hear a lot of people talk about?
Because if you can alter your physiology, your brain doesn't know the difference between what is real and what you're telling it. But our mind wanders a lot. And one of the main points of today is for me to give you some guidance on how you can actually steady your attention. And so everything that I read tells me that if you can first create that in your body, and this is not a novel concept, Lipton talks about it, Dispenza talks about it, that if you can start to change your physiological, like your neurochemistry, that is going to actually override the fear in your brain. You can actually hijack your amygdala. And that's one of the things I want to tell you how to do today. Does some of that require your mind? Yes. But if you can drop into that feeling in your body, you can get a faster change. Okay.
Okay. So you're saying kind of that phrase that people say, I say these things all the time, but I don't get any changes. It's like you embracing the emotions and the feeling with it is actually creating like a physiological biochemical change in yourself that is preparing you towards that more.
Yep. On a cellular level. And at the end of today, I'm going to give you the 5 components. They're like 5 factors to actually create a change in your physiological state that will help you control your mind.
Thank you.
And the idea of controlling the mind is not like it's not an OCD, let's control our mind. it is really about expanding the range of experiences in which you feel free. So the invitation will be at the end. I'll tell you what the invitation will be at the end so that you can prepare for it. That is to resist the temptation to indulge your mind. So how can we resist the temptation to indulge your mind? You know, we can through meditation. It takes a long time to get to the mountaintop, right? So what if we can accelerate that process? I'm not saying don't meditate. I firmly believe that we should have a daily practice every day, that there should be a concerted, intense training of the mind. And what are some ways that we can maybe move that along a little bit faster? And so that's what my recipe for changing your mind is about today. So number one, gosh, we're still on number one. Let me know when we get to about 12:40. Set your intention, feel it in your body. Number two, this is the easy one. This is to increase your parasympathetic tone. Maybe not easy, but simple. So how do we increase our parasympathetic tone? We stimulate the vagus nerve. How do we stimulate the vagus nerve? There are lots of ways to stimulate your vagus nerve, right? You can stick your finger in your ear and do this. You can do you can do vagal massage. You can adjust somebody. You can get an electronic vagal nerve stimulator, and you can just do this. You can use a vagal breathing technique called 4-7-8. Okay? 4-7-8. So what do? You breathe in. Inhalation is for 4 seconds. You hold for 7, and then you go out for 8. So exhalation is exaggerated. And anytime you exaggerate the exhalation, what happens is you increase parasympathetic tone, because in order to do that, you're increasing the pressure in your intrathecal cavity. And what that'll do is that'll stimulate the vagus nerve. So this you can do anywhere. So you're not sitting in class in the middle of a test trying to stimulate your vagus nerve, or going quick, adjust me, or getting some sort of stimulation, humming, gargling, singing, massaging. You can just sit there and breathe, and nobody needs to know what you're up to. Here's the other cool part of the 5 ingredient recipe I'm going to give you today. You can do it anywhere and people will have no idea. Number one, set your intention, feel it in your body. Number two, we're going to do some vagal breathing, 4-7-8, slow, rhythmic, deep. Now you're doing this ideally at the same time as feeling this incredible desired state in your body. Okay? And we'll talk the difference about thinking and feeling in a moment when we get to step 5. Okay. Everybody good on the how do you increase your parasympathetics? Look, you have to be under a rock to not have heard about vagal tone by now, right? Number 3, this is probably the hardest. Number 3 is to decrease your sympathetic tone. So number 1, set your intention. Number 2, increase parasympathetic tone. Number 3, decrease sympathetic tone. How do we do that? Like, isn't that the holy grail? There's 3 basic human needs: safety, satisfaction, connection. Safety is basically a state of peacefulness. Satisfaction is contentment, and connection is love. So at the very base of our lizard brain is the need for safety. Are we feeling that today? With our forests burning around us, people in masks, people are filled with fear, right? How do we get to a state of safety? Number 1, every one of us, unless you are in imminent peril, you can put your hand on your heart and go, I feel safe right now, right here, I'm safe. Can you all feel that? Can you all right now feel to yourself, right here, right now, I'm safe. There's no tiger at the door, and hopefully there's no fire at your front door, but you should be able to get to a place, again, unless you're in imminent peril, you should be able to say, right here, right now, in this moment, I feel safe. How do we get there? We have to have a state of our surroundings. We need to trust our gut. And the easiest way to feel safety is to have connection with other human beings. This is to have a feeling of connection with other human beings. Safety, contentment, connection. I think all three of those things are challenged right now in this current state of pandemic. People aren't feeling safe. People aren't feeling content because you can't do the things you love. And we're all like been immobilized and separated in isolation. Find somebody today, find somebody every day and hug them for at least 20 seconds. Jared's hugging. We need to increase our oxytocin. So step number 1, intention. In your body, feel it. Step number 2, increase parasympathetic tone. Breath work, a 4-7-8 breath work is the best way to do that. Step 3, decrease sympathetic tone. Get adjusted. Embrace the feeling of safety in your body. Right here, right now, I'm safe. And you can almost always do that. Number 4, heart focus. If you have hands, place one on your heart. And I want you to feel a sense of warmth. You can close your eyes if you want. And I want you to feel the beat of your heart and how it's driving life-giving force into every cell in your body. In fact, when you're doing your breathing, I want you to imagine as if your heart is breathing you. And so here we are in our heart focus, right? Right here, hands on our heart. And maybe you go all the way back to step 1 and you're like, what was that desired state I want again? Yeah, right there, right there, right there. It's beautiful, isn't it? And when you do that, so your amygdala, which is your brain smoke alarm, it actually has oxytocin receptors. That's our love drug, right? The chemistry that our own body creates. And you can hijack your amygdala and turn down the alarm system. Because when that alarm system is elevated, it starts to drive your sympathetic nervous system. Cortisol goes up, noradrenaline goes up. We're in a state of fight or flight. And even just thinking about that, it feels uncomfortable in your being, doesn't it? So what do we got? We now know how to set intention in our body to like bring our focused awareness into a desired state of being. We know how to breathe to increase our parasympathetics. We know how to calm ourselves and to feel safe, to decrease our sympathetic tone. And we know how to put our hand on our heart and focus into that warm, loving space that is deep in our soul. And I'm going to take you there today. Number 5 sounds a bit like number 1, but it's very specifically to feel a positive emotion. I'm not talking about positive thinking. Positive thinking and affirmations and all that stuff. You know what? There's a space and it's okay. But what's more powerful than positive thinking is positive emotion. Positive emotion actually works like a drug in your brain. It increases dopamine. And dopamine, which gets, revved up from the nucleus accumbens through the mesolimbic dopaminergic reward system, it steadies attention. I want you to think about a drug addict for a second. Do they have a serious amount of attention focused on one thing? You bet. That's dopamine. Only what happens with drugs is dopamine peaks and goes down, up, peaks and goes down, peaks and goes down. And it's like this the whole time. When you can steady your attention, which comes from being able to focus your mind, guess what happens? Dopamine levels even out. And that becomes the gateway to steadying your mind. In fact, the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, which is what's responsible for steadying attention, is that dopaminergic gateway. The bliss state, what they say what happens with the bliss state is that dopamine levels are so high, they can't go any higher. And when you get to that bliss state, it feels like it'll never end. It's perfection. That's the idea of nirvana. Look, can we be there all the time? No, because we're human beings and we have to work and study and take tests and deal with shitty people and be with people we love, right? So there's this thing that happens. Life is meant to have ups and downs, right? We can only learn to, love and appreciate the light when we can revere the dark that we experience. We are yin and yang. We are light and dark. We are all of these things. And so, it wouldn't be normal either if your parasympathetic was high all the time and your sympathetic was in the tank, because actually what you want is balance, right? Balance between the gas and the brake all the time. But what this technique offers you is a way to be able to quickly change your mind, to quickly set your state of being, to change your physiology into a desired state. Why? Because it expands the range of experiences in which you feel free. They say the purpose, Buddha said, I don't know if Buddha said it, it's been attributed to Buddha, this idea that the purpose of meditation is to expand the range of experiences in which you feel free. Doesn't that feel nice? If you could just decide on a dime, okay, I don't like what I'm feeling here. And oh, by the way, I'm not going to buy it, because your mind isn't always your best friend. You can learn to choose. I always say you can cherry pick the thoughts that actually are going to elevate your existence, right? You can choose the thoughts you want, but the only way you can do that is through careful practice. And the recipe that I'm offering you today is a practice that it's not like, oh, you got the recipe today and you wrote it down and you're done. The good news is you have the recipe. The bad news is you have to do it every day for the rest of your life. That's not bad news though, because guess what's going to happen? You are going to change your neuroplasticity. You're going to rewire your brain to actually create the desired state you want, to actually create an ability. What was the invitation at the beginning? To resist the temptation to indulge your mind. What if at any moment you could resist the temptation of any thought you had? You sit down to take a test. Oh crap, I didn't study enough. I don't know. What if you could just be like, I'm good. It doesn't matter. I'm going to choose this thought instead. And what I can tell you is that the more you choose the positive emotion, the positive feeling in the body, the more that you practice to increase your parasympathetic tone and decrease your sympathetic tone, your brain is being rewired to create that desired state in your body, in your being. Here's the other good thing. The more people you surround yourself with that are also doing this, your vibration, your level of vibration increases, right? Trevor, you know this, right? From being in the field with other people who are vibrating at a high level, what do? We vibrate at the same frequency. We actually know this to be physiologically true. Heart coherence gets elevated. In fact, some schmuck in the house that maybe isn't doing the homework, guess what? He can be the lazy bugger whose his vibration gets elevated just by being around you all. How incredible is that? And that's okay, because what? Our job as human beings is to what? I think my job is to ease the path. We can take other people with us. So my other invitation today is to make sure you share this technique with others so that they can learn to change their mind in a way that's driven purely from your own self-directed neuroplasticity. It's absolutely possible. I've been practicing it every day for a long time. Shall we try it? Any questions at this point? All right, I'm going to take you through the 5 things. Number 1, we're going to set an intention. You all get to choose whatever intention you want. If you feel open to it, I would, of those of you that have your video turned off, if you really want to stay anonymous, that's cool. If not, I love seeing all your faces, and thanks to everybody who's already there. Not required. So number one, you set intention. Then we're going to breathe. We're going to increase our parasympathetic tone. We're going to decrease our sympathetic tone. And I'm not going to necessarily do these in order, okay? Then we're going to go to a heartwarming place. And then I want you to choose a desired emotion, a desired positive emotion that you want to feel in your body. Okay? All right. So first thing is, I want you to place your hand on your heart. Eyes open, eyes closed, whatever you feel like. And if you don't want to have your screen on, you don't have to. Hand on your heart. And I want you to feel in your body and say to yourself, either quietly or out loud, right here, right now, I'm safe. Right here, right now, I'm safe. I want you to feel that. I really want you to feel I'm safe. I want you to know that. And unless you're in imminent peril, I'm going to tell you that you are safe right here, right now, in that space that you're in. Now I want you to feel a desired state in your body. Maybe it's peace. Maybe it's joy. Maybe it's gratitude. And I want you to focus on that, not just in your mind, but I want you to feel what that feels like in your body. If you're having a hard time feeling it, then maybe recall a time in your life when you did feel it. An experience that you had, being with somebody that you love, or a feeling that brings you to that space, that gives you that feeling of whatever it is that you want. So here we are, we're safe. We have a beautiful feeling in our body. Now I want you to be in your heart. Just try dropping in to this masterpiece that drives life through every cell, organ, and tissue in your body. In a moment, we're going to breathe. And I want you to feel that warm love that's radiating through every cell in your being, as though your heart is actually breathing you. We're safe. We're feeling joy or gratitude or peace. Our heart is at the center of our being. Now we're going to breathe a little. In for 4 seconds. You're going to hold on the top of that for 7. And then you're going to exaggerate your out breath. You're going to do it slowly because you got to get to 8. So a shortened inhalation, a pause, and then a longer exhalation. All the while feeling this incredible feeling in your body, in your heart, loving all of you. And don't worry if every now and then a stray thought wanders in. It's okay. We love all of you. Everybody's welcome. I am safe. I hear you. I see you. I love you. Right here, right now, I'm perfect. I have everything I need. I am love. Now, if you want, you can take your hands off your heart and place your palms up, still holding that same breathing rhythm, slow, deep, rhythmical, still embodying that desired feeling in your body. And now beam all that energy out into the universe around you, into the room you're in, out of the room, into your neighborhood, into your city, your state, your country, the planet, the universe. Set the whole field ablaze with your love. Feel that in your being. Know you can tap into it anytime. It's always right here with you. Whenever you're ready, you can come back into the planet or turn off the Zoom call and bliss out. I feel good. Any questions? Comments?
I mean, other than thank you. Having that recipe is definitely vital. At least I feel for my life and as well for my future patient's life. I thank you for taking the time to impress upon us such wonderful knowledge. And it just really gives me the charge to at least meet my patients halfway. You talked about having that space, and the three things that people need is community. Hold on, I have it in my notes. Wait a minute. That people need safety, satisfaction, and connections. And I think that we as chiropractors can at least hold that within our practices, to have that safe space for everybody, you know, and as well teaching our patients continually about these things and everything like that. We hold ourselves as a center hub of restoration, if you will, or, you know, kind of a charging outlet to kind of return back to self.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah,
Recharging station.
definitely.
You know, the interesting thing is this, and that is your autonomic state is really set up by every experience you've had in the past and the current state of your brain, right? And so when people come to you, like, it's not your fault if you're feeling stress. It's not your fault if you're in a state of fight or flight. It's your physiology. But what I'm offering to you is the idea that you actually can change your physiology. In fact, it's more than an idea. It's a proven scientific fact that you can change your physiology. And the recipe that I gave you today is a way to do that. Last week, Dr. Mack and I spoke at Mile High, and we talked about the principles of polyvagal theory and how you can apply those in practice. We're going to offer that again to our PRANA Foundation community. Keep an eye out. If you're not a member of the PRANA Foundation, it's a free community. It's a free to everybody. It's a community on Facebook, and we offer lots of different things to the community. But one of the things that we do are programs like that, which is, we'll come together in a workshop format to show you the principles of polyvagal, which really are related to a lot of what we talked about today. And just this idea that we aren't to blame for our physiology, and we can change it. And you as a chiropractor can help people do that. And the technique that I offered today is one way to do that. Yeah. Any other comments, questions? We got some time.
Dr. Mo,
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, first and foremost. And I could listen to your meditation, to your voice of guidance, literally once a day, every day. I'm curious if you have, within the PRANA Foundation, I need to do some research, but do you have like 5-minute snippets, things to share with your community that we can access daily?
I don't, but I really need to do that. And, y'all can steal the audio out of what we did here today as one option. We don't necessarily need the video, but Jared, thank you. And you're not the first person to ask me that. And so I hear that. And my commitment is to start to create something like that, to make some short meditations. I also use Insight Timer myself, and on my really rough days, I love guided meditations. East Forest has some great ones too on Spotify, so big fan. Yeah, thank you.
Sarah Blondin is,
Yeah.
I think, a recommendation that you gave me on Insight Timer, but I want you up there.
It's on my list. It's on my list, dude. I'm on it. It's coming. Thank you so much for that. Yeah.
Hey, Dr. Mo, I have a question for you.
Michael?
I just want to say first, that was amazing, and thank you for all that information and meditation. It was wonderful. Do you ever find it useful to dive further into the negative emotions? And then when would that be applicable?
Yeah, so I feel like I'm like, so you can almost, there's 3 ways that people tend to meditate. We can either let be, which is to bear witness, and no positive, no negative, things just are. We can pull weeds, so that would be focusing on the negative. And the third option is to plant flowers, which would be to let in instead of let go, right? I think that we tend to like marinate too much in the negativity. And yeah, there's a time, right? Like sometimes we have to like dissect something. But I think that we have a tendency to do that more than marinating in the positive anyways. So yeah, I'm not going to say to never go there. I think it's important sometimes because it's through that sort of careful rumination around something that's troubling us that we can overcome. I'm just saying that's an easy place to drop into. It's harder work actually to plant flowers. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it totally does. I love the analogy about pulling weeds and planting flowers, and came to my mind that when you're pulling weeds, you got to be careful not to pull any flowers out while you're there too.
Yeah, 100%. The loudest voice is our own, and it's the most important one to change, because it really, that constant stream of consciousness, that running narrative in our head, it controls our lives. It runs everything. And the more effective you are at controlling that narrative, to not indulging your mind, it's every thought, the less struggle you have. I posted on Instagram yesterday that, you know, this idea that pain is inevitable and struggle is optional. And I said, it's bullshit, because as a human being, we have a mind that's going to take us to some dark places. And that what struggle, that's not what Buddha said. People say that Buddha said that. Buddha didn't say that. Buddha said that struggle, that pain is inevitable because that is a physiological process. He didn't say physiology, I did. It's not that struggle is optional. It's just that we create it. And your mind is responsible for your struggle. And your mind will be your most difficult hurdle in school, in practice, in life. And the sooner we can learn to control it most of the time. I'm not saying that you're going to be like nirvana all the time. It's not possible. Do I have struggle? I have struggle. We are human beings. We're going to have struggle. But can I get myself out of the hole faster than I ever could before? 100%. And this is one way to do it. Is it the only way? No, there's, you know, and none of this is not, I didn't make this up. This is stuff I've taken from all the different things I've studied, you know? Yeah. Other comments or questions? Anything? James?
Do you have a particular method for journaling, or, you know, keeping tabs on your progress, or just kind of knowing where you are in different ways of, like, maybe a method of how you do it, like what do you write? I've been practicing with some stoicism stuff now, so I this stoic evening thing of what did I do well today? What did I do wrong? And then what did I leave for tomorrow? So I've been practicing in the evenings. I thought just some thoughts, maybe you have some ideas on.
Yeah, I love that. Sounds amazing. I'd love to hear more about that. The most important thing I think you can do is go back and read your journal, like read the last 30 days every now and then you'll know about your progress. When I'm really struggling, what helps for me is to have a gratitude practice. And that's just not, oh, write down 3 things you're grateful for. Really what that involves is you can choose, it could be 3 things, it could be 1 thing, but actually to write about it for 10 minutes. What was the experience you had? Why do you feel grateful about it? And then if it involves somebody else, tell them. And I really like that practice. And for me, and that's my bias, because when I am in a state of struggle, what I find most helpful for me is to go to a place of gratitude. That's what gets me out of the hole. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you.
Can I add something on that?
Yeah.
We were came up about pulling weeds. One way that I found to be good doing that is doing a stream of consciousness writing. So you just go and you just start writing out what's on your mind, and then you can see when those negative beliefs do come up, and then you can dissect them. And it seems to be easier to dissect them on a piece of paper instead of in your mind, because there's that level of disconnect. You can see what's going on.
Yeah. And if you're a writer, that's awesome. If you're not a writer, you could keep a short video log too, right? Like, I go through peaks and valleys on how intensely I'm able to do that. You know, here's the one piece of advice I would offer to you. Whatever you do, the most important thing is to be kind to yourself and to others, obviously. But in Buddhism, there's a concept that's called Maitri. And the definition of Maitri is making friends with yourself. And if you don't read Pema Chodron or listen to Pema Chodron, I don't make a day through my life without listening to Pema, but that's where I got the idea from, that we need to make friends with ourselves. And you know, that's the voice you hear all the time, is the one in your head. So how can you make that the kindest voice possible? Well, that comes from learning to control it. Yeah. Other questions or comments?
This has really helped me today, because I've noticed myself slipping in my mindfulness and in my practice with that. Just been busy, and so I need to learn how to be busy and do those things, because otherwise the quality will begin to slip, and mental health. So yeah, I just appreciate the growing awareness, and I think you get it by giving it as well. So yeah, that practice of like pushing it, like vibrating it out into the universe too, is, you know, you get what you give. So I'm going to do that even more.
Yeah, 100%. I think that if we live our life in service to others, you never have to worry about money, safety. What you put out into the universe really does come back to you. And this idea that, I don't remember where I said, maybe it was, I think it was Ram Dass that said, your karma is your mind. Remember the first time I heard that, I was like, whoa, I think that's true. And yeah, your karma is your mind. So maybe you can work through your karma by, I know we can work through our karma by kindness and giving to others, but hopefully the recipe you got today is one that you can start to embrace. And I would schedule a daily practice for yourself to do that. Like literally put it in your book. For me, it's the beginning of the day. If I'm struggling, I'll do it at the beginning of the day, the end of the day, anytime, 5 times a day, however many times a day it takes me to really feel like I'm able to alter my state, whatever it takes. Listen, if you loved your experience here today, it would be awesome to share it on social media. If you want to do a screen capture and just share about your experience, follow me on Instagram, follow the PRANA Foundation on Instagram, join the PRANA Foundation community. We are really about easing the path. And yes, we have programs that we offer and retreats and different courses. And we have a very safe space for everyone to come, to learn, to grow, to heal, to evolve, and that costs you nothing. And thanks for inviting me. I love this time with you all. And please reach out if you have any questions. You can always get me at drmo@drmoniqueandrews.com.